My name is Thomas. I'm 80 now, and this is something from my life I don't want to keep quiet anymore. I am 80 years old now, and the house feels different since she stopped walking through it. We were married for 52 years, long enough that her presence felt like part of the walls themselves. When she was alive, I thought love was something steady, something already paid for by time. I did not question what it cost while I was still inside it. These days, mornings arrive quietly, and that quiet gives memories more space than they ever had before. I see our life more clearly now, not as it felt then, but as it really was. We met young, built routines, shared decades that felt ordinary while they were happening. Work, responsibilities, habits all layered themselves over us without much thought. Love became something assumed, not examined. I believed staying together was proof enough. I showed up physically, but not always fully present. I thought being reliable mattered more than being open. There were words I never learned to say easily. Gratitude, fear, tenderness, the deeper parts that felt awkward to bring into everyday life. I assumed time would carry those things without effort. 52 years felt like permanence. I did not imagine a day when love would demand payment all at once. When she became ill, I stayed practical, focused on tasks and schedules. I told myself strength meant holding things together. I did not realize how much was slipping through my silence. After she was gone, the weight arrived slowly. Not just grief, but understanding. Love had been costing something all along, and I had been paying without noticing. Only now, with no way to speak to her again, do I see the full price. That is the truth that sits with me today. It did not come while we were young, or even while we were growing old together. It came after everything stopped, when there was nothing left to distract me from it. When I think back to our middle years, I don't remember grand moments as much as ordinary days stacked quietly on top of each other. We built a life that worked, and because it worked, I rarely stopped to question it. I went to work, came home tired, ate dinner, watched the same shows, and called that stability. She carried more of the emotional weight than I noticed at the time. She remembered birthdays, checked in on family, asked questions that kept people close. I listened, but I did not always respond with the same care. I thought love was proven by consistency, by being there, by not leaving. I did not understand how much love also lives in attention. In my 40s and 50s, I became quieter about what I felt. I assumed she already knew. After decades together, words felt unnecessary, even childish at times. When she shared worries or hopes, I often answered with solutions instead of presence. I believed fixing things was the same as listening. She never complained loudly, and I took that as confirmation that everything was fine. We laughed, we shared meals, we lived side by side without conflict. I mistook the absence of problems for depth. Looking back now, I see moments where she reached out gently and I stayed where I was. Not because I didn't care, but because I didn't know how to step closer emotionally. I told myself there would be time later, when work slowed, when life was less demanding. Later always felt close enough to wait for. Years passed quietly that way. Our marriage looked strong from the outside, and in many ways it was. But inside, there were things I left unsaid because they felt uncomfortable or unnecessary. Affection expressed plainly, gratitude spoken clearly, Fear admitted honestly. I believed love that lasted did not need constant reassurance. I did not realize that reassurance is part of what keeps love alive. By the time I began to sense something missing, it felt too late to change the rhythm we had settled into. Comfort had replaced curiosity, and habit had replaced attention. I did not know then that these small choices were adding up to something I would one day carry alone. The cost of living that way did not appear while we were still sharing the same space. It revealed itself only after that space became empty. When she was gone, the house did not just lose a person, it lost its softness. I began noticing how much of our emotional life had lived in her effort, not mine. She had carried the remembering, the asking, the checking in, the quiet work of staying close. I had benefited from that without fully seeing it. Grief does not arrive all at once, it teaches in pieces. At first I missed her voice, her movements, the way she filled silence without trying. Later, I missed the version of myself I had been with her, even if I hadn't known him well. I started replaying moments that once felt ordinary. Conversations where I nodded instead of opening up. Evenings where I stayed tired instead of present. Times when she waited for something more from me and accepted less. I told myself I was being steady, dependable, strong. Now I see how often strength was just emotional distance wearing a good name. There were words I could have said that would not have changed our life, but would have changed how it felt. Simple things, said plainly, without fixing or explaining. I did not offer them because I believed love understood itself. But love, I have learned, still needs to be spoken. The turning point came not in a dramatic moment, but in a quiet realization. I could not remember the last time I told her, clearly and without habit, how deeply she mattered to me. That knowledge stayed with me longer than any single memory. It settled into my days and followed me into sleep. I understood then that love does not disappear when someone is gone. It becomes heavier, because it has nowhere to land. What I had not expressed became something I now had to carry alone. There was no one left to receive it. That is when I began to understand what love had been costing all along. Not money, not years, but attention and courage I did not always give. That understanding arrived too late to change anything, but not too late to be honest with myself. What cannot be fixed now is not the years we shared, but the way I moved through them. I cannot return to those ordinary days and speak more openly into them. I cannot give her the words she waited for without asking. At 80, you learn that time does not reopen doors just because regret is sincere. There was no final argument, no unfinished fight, no sharp ending. There was only a quiet absence that revealed everything I had relied on her to hold. I used to think love was proven by staying, by endurance, by not leaving. Now I understand how much love also asks to be shown while it is still alive. I see the places where I chose comfort over closeness, where routine felt safer than vulnerability. I do not judge my younger self harshly for this. Those choices felt normal, even responsible at the time. But knowing that does not remove the truth of their cost. There are moments I replay, not because they were dramatic, but because they were opportunities. A pause in conversation where I could have spoken honestly. An evening when I could have asked how she was really feeling. Those moments passed quietly, without marking themselves as important. Now they stand out more than the big events ever did. I cannot rewrite our story, and I no longer try. Some understanding arrives only when action is no longer possible. That is not a punishment, just a reality of living long enough to see clearly. I carry this clarity with a steady sadness, not sharp regret. It reminds me of how deeply we were connected, even when I failed to say it well. The love was real, even if my expression of it was incomplete. Accepting that truth is part of what keeps me grounded now. It does not ask me to fix the past, only to acknowledge it fully. That is the work left to me at this age. Now, at 80, love feels quieter but heavier than it ever did when she was here. I no longer confuse silence with safety. I see how much courage it takes to speak plainly to the people we believe will always stay. I live with the understanding that love is not only something we feel, but something we show while time still allows it. That understanding came late, after the chance to act on it had passed. I do not carry this as advice or warning. I carry it as truth. Our marriage was real, deep, and lasting, even with its quiet gaps. But it was not finished in the way it could have been. There are words that belong only to the living moment, and once that moment is gone, they lose their place. I have learned to sit with that without trying to correct it. The love I did not fully express did not disappear. It simply changed where it lives. It lives now in memory, in understanding, and in the way I finally see our life together clearly. If you are listening and thinking of someone you love, that feeling does not need explanation. It is part of being human long enough to recognize what matters. If you feel like sharing a thought or a memory, I would read it. Hearing from others makes this quiet feel less empty. For me, this story ends here, not with resolution, but with acceptance. I sit with the life we shared, aware of its depth, aware of its cost, and grateful that love, even imperfectly expressed, stayed with me to the very end.